There we
Can I
go.
can I rate you as well? Wait, let me see how do I do that.
You can
All
host
right
or
then.
something?
I'll just
I don't know.
it's fine. Hello everyone.
Oh, hang on. Emo's saying they can't hear you.
Oh, I was muted this whole time on the stream. You guys could hear me. Let me try that again. Alright, welcome to Roof of War Podcast Season 2, Episode 1. We are kind of like almost rebooting it in the sense of last year it changed hosts and names and a bunch of other things. The people who originally did it don't even really play Wargroove anymore, to my understanding. So maybe they'll come back. But for the moment, we are very much in kind of like giving it a little bit of a soft reboot. So we are in season 2, and yeah, this is the first podcast of the year.
Cool. Reboots never ruined any TV shows ever.
Hey, there have been some. I was gonna say good reboots, but I guess reboots that other people have liked. Like I heard, people like the new Battlestar Galactica. You know, that was a reboot. So
All right.
All right. Welcome to War Group. Welcome to the new podcast.
yes. So joining me this week is Sneaky Dragon. I mean, you just were speaking just then. How about you give yourself a little introduction?
Oh, sure. So proper intro. This is the Sneaky Dragon. I make a ton of War Group tutorials, YouTube videos, commentated PvP. Feel free to check me out on YouTube. And hey, how you doing? Welcome to War Group.
Also joining us this week is Psychoia.
Hello, I don't know. I just pop here and there randomly a bit, I guess. I'm pretty good at Wargroove too, I guess.
Pretty good. I mean,
And
you
yeah.
got.
Pretty
Where did you place again?
6th.
6th. So, you know, 6th in Groove of War, 5. That's pretty damn good.
could have
Yeah.
been fifth.
It could have been 5th.
Could have been better than you.
Ooh. Ooh, spicy.
Yeah, also, as also introducing the person that knocked Psychoia out in winner's side, Zeronix.
Hello. I'm a long time player of Wargroove. Getting back into it seriously after a while. Glad to be here and on this podcast for the first time.
Oh, that was
Oh,
your
it's
first
your
time.
first time actually.
Yeah, it is my first time. Previously, my time zone and the timing never really worked out, but I think now there's a good chance that I can participate actively.
Oh,
So that's really good.
awesome. So, we have, like, I guess 3 main topics to talk about. There's the post-event discussion for Groove of War 5. We just wrapped things up 2 weeks ago now, something like that. It was like right at the start of this year.
Oh, I have notes.
You have notes?
I do.
Ooh. So I guess the main thing to start. I mean, the finals. Like we didn't talk. We did a little preview of the finals in the last podcast. So I mean, Zorax, you were the finalist or one of
I
the
was
finalists.
indeed.
So how about we like I guess talk over like how the finals went? Like how did you feel about the finals?
Um, hmm. I'm not really sure what I'm being asked here. I thought it was organized well. I enjoyed my time playing it. Um, I like the format compared to the previous rounds where there were no bans, and so we got to see a wider variety of maps on both sides. So those are all things that I liked about the finals. Um, it was a bit difficult to schedule the finals because we had to coordinate my availability and Shu's availability and also your availability to stream the thing. So, but
Yeah.
I guess that's just you can't get around that, I guess.
Yeah, that's always going to be a struggle, especially with like international players. Like, I mean, I guess like the last finals wasn't too bad because they were both American. And I'm thinking about the finals before
Mm,
that.
no, it was EU and EST.
Oh, but they both lived in America though,
Oh, okay.
or they're both North America, I should say. And then like before that, you had like River War 3, and the finalists for that were one European and one North American, so that wasn't too bad either. This one was a 0. You're like 8 hours off of GMT, I think.
Yeah, I'm 8 hours ahead.
Yeah, and she was 8 hours behind, and I'm right in the middle. So that was
Yeah, this time. Yeah, it was really tough this time, but we managed to arrange something.
we did, and you know it wasn't too bad. Like my sleep schedule got a bit messed up, but you know it always gets messed up anyway, so I'm okay with that. And you know I kind of have to go into being prepared to do that, right? Like if whoever's gonna do the stream has to do that. I mean, like I was kind of hoping like Fear Dragon would be able to step in and maybe cover like one of the days, but I think that's something we'll be doing like going forward is like not having just me do all the streaming. We'll have like a bunch of streamers from different time zones because I honestly don't mind that much if I don't get to do the finals. It's more about just like I would rather someone else gets to do it and like they put on a good show than it being specifically like me. So
There was another streamer streaming some of the games who also was there for most of the final games. Just saying.
this is true.
Oh,
Yeah, like it can't. Like the finals were at a bad time for me because I was like I couldn't be part of the live or the cast, so that was unfortunate. But I mean,
It's
that's all right.
actually it's impossible to have a time zone that works for everyone.
Yeah,
At least
but
for like a significant amount of time. Like you could technically put it at a time where like if it was an hour long, you could kind of make it work for most people. But even then, like we're literally like at the three corners of like the triangle, right?
yeah.
So yeah, there's only so much you can do. But it was fun. We had a good time. It went 3 days as well. Like, how did you feel about like it going for that long?
I think it's better than like having to play all the games consecutively, because that's better for like, I mean, you'll get less tired, right? Like if you had to play all five on the same day, it would definitely be quite tiring for both players, I feel.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. We're not a game where you can kind of like rely on like muscle memory or anything like that. It's all like strategic thinking like the whole time. So like Wargroove is an exhausting game. Like I have tried to do like longer streams of just me playing Wargroove and I get so tired so quickly. Like I can only
Yeah.
play the game for like 3 or 4 hours in like one sitting.
Like I consider myself to be one of the players who doesn't get as tired from playing Wargroove because, um, well, because I don't really look for lethal. To put it bluntly, I miss lethal a lot, and that's why I get less tired. But even I found the finals schedule a bit tiring. So yeah, part of it can't be helped, but it was definitely good that we put it like 3 days instead of just one day. It would have been a lot worse otherwise.
Yeah, and it's not like we haven't been doing stuff like that before. Like we had like a lot of people play their best of threes over 2 days. And that's generally been okay. Like some people
even
play
3.
Yeah, some people play them over 3 as well.
I
That's
think I
less
played
common.
most of my best of threes in like 3 days because I played most of my games as best of threes.
Right. That seems to be more of the exception, though. Like a lot of people generally play it either like an all in one sitting. It's quite rare to have all 3 games played on one day, but that does happen. But yeah, generally like 2 seems to be kind of the average, right?
That's what I found as well.
So I guess going forward, it's gonna be like when we schedule stuff in the future, it will be the case that we'll be running stuff over like multiple days and planning for that. Which adds a lot of challenges as a tournament organizer. Like if we ever had like, let's say one year we did like a LAN final, like people in person,
Oh wow.
like or something along those lines. Like how would you do that is like the question. Like if you had like a weekend event with like multiple games, would like Wargroove just be like the first game of each day? Like it would just be like a couple of hours of Wargroove and then it would cut to something else and people would get a chance to have a break. I guess it's like one possibility, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. I like it. We're not. I mean, I do LAN stuff for like my work outside of Wargroove, and you know that industry is very much on hold right now. So
Yeah, I can imagine.
like the idea of like a LAN Wargroove event is a bit off the table. But
No, you spoke the forbidden words. Nervously glance around for that one player.
what LAN?
Were you there for that?
For
All right,
what?
never mind. I don't want to bring it back. Never mind. Never mind.
Okay.
Oh, I see
We'll
what
never
you're
speak of it
okay,
again.
okay.
What is
Well,
it
if you
now?
don't get it, it's a long story.
Yeah, never mind. Please continue. Forget I said anything. I'm God.
I've already forgotten. Don't worry. I forget things very quickly.
On like a kind of off topic or a somewhat related note, a bit of a tangent, which I could say is I emo said it in chat. Don't worry, I get what you mean there. There was some chat among the staff about meeting up at like there's an event in America for StarCraft called Cheesadelphia, and a bunch of us realized that we could actually all go to that. So we could have like a little like side bracket for Wargroove. Because like a bunch of us are like a lot of us like people in general like strategy fans, right? Like you know I've been playing some Northgard. Like I've watched a lot of StarCraft. I don't know if anyone else got their email from Twitch, which is like how many hours you've spent watching stuff, and it was like 1,200 hours watching StarCraft 2 last year. I was like, okay, definitely.
Wow.
Whoa. And just to be clear, you said you spent some time playing Northgard recently. Some. I don't know if that quite captures it exactly.
Yeah, I mean, this year I've played like over 100 hours at this point, I think.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Although I don't know if you saw my tweet today. I did a 1v1, which is apparently not the format for the game. It's actually 2v2 and 3v3 are the main formats.
Right, because certain clans are like broken in 1v1.
Yeah, and like the way the game plays doesn't really suit 1v1 as well. But I had like a really bad loss and I just got really annoyed and I was like, you know when you play a game and it's like you like 90% of the game, but there's like a few things that really you just like consider them flaws almost. And I was just like, man, if this game was ever so slightly different, but
Yeah, like League. It would be a perfect game without the toxicity.
yeah, exactly.
wow.
League would be a perfect game if I only ever had to play with friends and I won every single time.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wargroove would be perfect if I never got lethal, right?
Yeah, like just remove the ability for my opponents to find lethals, and then Wargroove is perfect.
Actually, Wargroove without RNG. Maybe we should talk about this at some point. But
Oh yeah.
I like
But-
RNG. No, don't
Maybe
take it away.
maybe we save it for later.
We can save it for later. There were some moments in the finals though where RNG happened and it wasn't pretty. Like,
I mean, RNG kind of carried me this tournament. I'm not gonna lie. So
Lol.
There's only one time I was seriously affected by RNG in a way that affected like progression, and that was the coin flip to decide who would pick first.
Lol. Oh, that is true in a way.
oh yeah, RNG carried me through that too.
I mean, like, and the annoying thing is, like, the coin flip is meant to just be, it isn't meant to be as impactful as it ended up being, and the reason it is so impactful is just because, like, it's a whole bunch of different factors, but, like, the main one is that, like, a bunch of the maps have FTA, STA, right? And it was more
Yeah, Safe
significant.
Haven is the main one.
Yeah, but, I mean, it wasn't unwinnable if you got to, like, the worst end of it. Like, we definitely saw people on, was it player 1 winning? I think, like, the last 2 games.
Yeah,
on
but
Safe
it was
Haven,
more
player
like
one was-
because player 2 was making mistakes that they basically player 2 made mistakes that allowed them to actually play the game, I feel. But
Yeah, like
I
the thing is,
think
none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect at this game.
yeah, but uh,
No, how do you say? I think it's a lot like the level of STA on Safe Haven is such that as long as you don't make any major mistakes and you follow the predefined like sort of optimal way to play it, which is like try to spam thieves and start stealing a lot of things,
spam
you should
balloons.
you should be able to get to a fairly good advantage state, and there's not a lot your opponent can do. So you can definitely mess it up on P2's side, but I feel like it's it's easy enough that most people wouldn't mess it up that hard.
Starts whistling.
Also, actually,
Oh.
I've thought a little bit about how Spadius won on player 1 Safe Haven versus Timekey, and I was like, hang on. Timekey's playing defensive. He's like respecting his opponent. What is this? I was like, this isn't Timekey.
Oh. Timekey, are you in chat?
Tanky is in chat, by the way. But I mean, I guess the more general point is that, like, the coin flip isn't meant to be as significant as it ended up being, just because, like, the maps are in theory meant to be balanced. And
Yeah.
you know, it turned out this time that they, you know, a lot of them weren't. And some of that is like an issue with how much time we had to do, like, to prepare maps for the event, and a lot of that was to do with, you know, the idea that, like, the event was so long, because it ended up being like over 3 months, or 3 months exactly, or something around that, when it was only meant to be like just over 2. And because of that, like, the maps, like, people have so much time to figure out and solve maps, and, like, we can't edit them in the middle of an event. That's something I'm very adamantly against. But looking into the
And
future,
the most we can do is remove them.
yeah, and even then, like, we made mistakes with that. Like, we took a map out and didn't lower the bans for maps, which is something we should have done. And that was like, I mean, like, I will take responsibility for that, because, like, you know, I'm the one literally writing the rule set on the webpage for the event. But yeah, it's a shame because, like, it kind of, like, had a really kind of negative impact on the event. Which I think generally, like, the feedback we got is, like, people think it was a good event. People think it was better than the previous event, and, you know, for the previous event, people thought that was better than the previous event, and so on and so on. So we're improving every time, but we're still running into issues. And you know, like, we're going to be talking about Groove of War in 2021 after this, but I think we know what a lot of the problems are and we know how to fix them going forward. So I'm pretty happy about that. But it still kind of sucked that, you know, there were like literally like the coin flip before the games even start determines a lot of things when that isn't really meant to.
Well, I
Like
mean,
whether we
I
play
think
twice on Sidewinder
as
or
long
open
as
season.
you were solid on like, I guess at least 3 of the maps, I'd say, then the coin flip, you should still win if you're the better player, I feel.
Mm,
Yeah,
I
I feel
I don't know. I think there was one set I had where the coin flip might have just decided it, but that's just because we were very good at very different maps.
was it your
I don't want to. No, I don't want to say that. If I say which one, then it's BMing. I don't want to say which one. My opponent was very, yeah.
Alright,
Both
which
players in the
set did
set were very
Sneaky
good.
lose?
The person who won deserved to win.
Oh, sure. I respect that.
But yeah, ideally, like we should be going to like a point where things aren't determined by like parts of the like not even just the game, but parts of the event that are out of players' control. So
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, like we could have made it better by removing the like you can't pick a map you've already won on rule. But that's like with hindsight.
No, I feel like that's worse because then you can just prepare like one map and you just always pick that map or something.
No,
Yeah.
because then like either it gets banned or like the opponent doesn't pick it, right?
I feel
yeah,
like it's just mainly the map pool size this time. Like we originally had 6 maps, but then one of them was removed, and then one of them was found to have serious STA. So in the end, you only have 4 choices, and 4 choices with 2 bans means you can always force your opponent to pick the one that you want. So as long as the map pool isn't so small in future events, I feel like it won't really be an issue.
yeah. I mean, like it's a bunch of factors, right? Like if all the maps were fine and like perfectly balanced, then it wouldn't be a problem. If there were maps that were problematic, but we had enough maps in the pool and like the bands were at the correct amount, then like there's all these like different problems, and it was like a culmination of all of them coming together that caused it. Like any one of those like pieces being slightly different would have ended up like having a very different outcome. So
Yeah, I guess.
it's just it's like an unfortunate like culmination of issues, but we know how to fix them, so that's, you know, important. And we
You know,
did
if you guys want. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say we opened up the feedback form, which is still open. People can give feedback. We've
Speaking
only
of feedback, I took notes on like a bunch of different points about the tournament. If you guys think this is a good format, we could I could just go through each one and everyone could say if they liked it, didn't like it.
sure.
I guess I don't know if we're done sorting through ban and pick data yet.
Oh, I still. Oh, actually, you just reminded me. I completely forgot about that. Actually, I put in a lot of that information. If anybody listening, or if anyone here, because I know some people here helped with bans. If you have any like ban data from people, we are like trying to gather all that together. Like I missed some of it. So like I have like the majority of ban data for the games, but like some sets like I didn't do. Some people DM'd me like the information, and it just is in a gigantic pile of DMs that I could have to like scroll down so far, and like Discord like hides DMs beyond a certain point. So like I don't even know if like I can even find some of those. So yeah, if anybody like is able to like provide any, if you did help people with bans, like just drop me a DM with like all of that information. That would really help a lot. Because like going back through, I realized that you already sent ones. If you could resend them, honestly, because it might be that I missed like putting it into something. Like I might have just like seen it, been like cool, thanks, and then not put that in a spreadsheet, or like I have a notepad that has loads of banned data in it as well.
While we're on the topic of bans, one thing that I would like to see different in the next tournament, this is just my opinion, but I want to see all bans be public. And not necessarily like when you message someone, that's obviously secret, but when you get the bans back, when both players know what was banned, I'd like that info to be public. The reason is it can't really benefit you until the next round anyway, so everyone has the same information. And another thing, the volunteers get extra information if that's secret. Because so a lot of the time the volunteers are in the tournament. But most importantly, as a spectator, you can't understand the choices being made if you don't understand what choices weren't there. Because, like, why did they pick this commander? Isn't that low tier? Well, maybe 8 other things were banned, and that was the best choice. Why did they pick this map? What was banned?
Yeah,
Like
that's definitely why Merciful was picked, right?
I definitely think that Merciful is picked because Merciful is the memeiest of all commanders. But, like, if you're watching a competitive league game, the first thing the viewers see, what's banned? Who's on which side? Like, I think that would help from a viewer experience, and I think it would help from a player experience, and from a data experience, because, like, we're kind of running around now trying to gather all the bans, but we could have it already if it was public. And then we
Yeah.
could do, like, statistics and look at, like, which commanders aren't getting used, and, like, players could use the information to be like, wait a minute, nobody's playing this commander. Maybe I could pick up this commander and surprise people. That would be really cool, because then we'd see more variety.
Yeah, I mean, I
Mhm.
definitely agree with you there. I
Yeah,
think the
a small downside I can see, although I think it's not enough to go against what you're suggesting, is that you know how some regions play fewer matches? That would mean you get less ban data from the players in these regions. That's kind of one of it. The only downside I can think of.
I think
Um,
But I
so.
think I
There are
agree.
some changes that will be coming in regards to that though. Like smaller regions, like if there's 4 or 5 or even 6 people in a region, they might play a round robin instead of a Swiss system. Because like if 6-person round robin is 5 matches per person, and that is the same amount of rounds as like the biggest Swiss bracket we had this time. So it probably would actually end up being about the same amount of data, or roughly anyway, for the smaller regions and the larger ones. I do want to note that like the idea originally was to release ban data at the end of each week, at least for Swiss. It just got it got like put on a shelf as like yeah, it would be great if we did this, and then like there was a lot of work to be done, and ultimately it like when there's a lot of things that could be done to improve the event, and you have to like you only have so much time. You just have to pick and choose, and that was like kind of a lower priority thing.
sense.
Yeah,
But
and also like if you want to make it kind of secure, you'd probably need to use a bot for stuff like that. And we we can only ask so much of our the bot daddies,
yeah,
as
I
we
mean,
call them in staff, because like
another possibility is we ask Smash GG to put it into their website, but you know they also have issues with like putting draw results into their website, which is a bit annoying. So like I had to like basically brute force some stuff to get that to work. And when you put like a 1-1 result in a Smash GG thing, it doesn't save the commander data, which is also really annoying. So like we're gonna have to like troll through like videos for a lot of sets to get the full pick data. That will be hopefully done by the end of this month. So I had actually honestly just completely forgotten to do that. Like we've been so busy with other stuff. And it's one of those like it's really cool to release like ban and pick data, but it is like the bottom of the pile as far as like priorities of work to be done. So
I think for the next tournament, one really easy way to do it, we open a new channel but have it locked to volunteers, right? So we're assuming we're not using bots. The volunteers will post the bans into the channel once they've been merged.
Yeah,
So
I
that
think
way
that
you have a dated list completely uninterrupted by chat with all of the bans from each game. So and then they put it right into the spreadsheet. It's public, everyone can see it, the streamers can announce it. We have that Discord stream to go back to in case we miss something in the spreadsheet, and it'll solve so many of our problems.
I mean, the idea we were playing around with is having like a team of volunteer referees, I guess, that we like trust enough to not tamper with the data, you know? So basically, we could just have a public spreadsheet that only they can edit, and then that would be enough, I think.
Right. No, I'm saying we do that, but we also have the channel, because if there's a channel that has nothing in it but the bans from each game, then it's easy for the players to access without having to release the spreadsheet every week, because that's more admin. And someone has to be around and approve it and check it and make a copy. And then what if it comes in late before one game but not another game? But on the other hand, if all the data is right there in this one channel, anybody can see it, it's fair, it's public, it's opened, and then we don't even have to do an iterative release of the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I guess.
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, that would actually be a really good way to do it. I mean, the other thing as well is like, I mean, like, this has been like no discussion on staff, but I have been looking at like, should we try some other like picking formats as well? One thing I noted with the ban data is like there are very definitively commanders that are top tier. Like they.
I want to look at like once we have the spreadsheet, I want to have a presence stat for each commander, and like you can basically assume that every commander with 100% presence is top tier.
Yeah, like I think there was very rarely a case where I'm gonna say Ragna as an example here. She was banned almost every game and she got picked I think almost every time she was available. So but I don't think there was like 100% presence for anyone. I think it was definitely like almost that. But yeah, like it was.
Do you think Caesar has 100%?
So not entirely, but he also lost. So there was a Caesar versus Koji match, for example, and Caesar lost to Koji in that. But Koji is also one of the other commanders that had a ridiculously high ban rate. Like he was like 95% banned.
I think it's great to collect data, but I also think it's like we should be aware that it's a really small sample size whenever we.
Yeah, it's more of a support for discussion, really.
Yeah, I mean,
But it's still
like
interesting to look at.
yeah, I mean like something I would like maybe consider doing next time, like if we do an event that has like best of threes, for example, is we could do something along the lines of we auto ban like a bunch of the top tiers that are like because there were alright, so there was very clearly like 3 commanders that were getting banned more than anyone else. Those were Ragna, Koji, and Caesar. Like those 3 me looking over the spreadsheet so far, we'll release this publicly at some point and like try and like be as transparent as possible about this. But those 3 are cut above everybody else.
Yeah, I guess Vespers were not too far behind, is my guess.
Vesper, Volder.
Oh yeah, Volder too.
I think Wolfar got banned quite a bit as well, but I think a lot of people just don't like him. His results weren't that great.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of those like he gets banned quite a bit, but he's not. But
Wolfar's Ezreal. Let's be real. Wolfar is Wargroove's Ezreal.
Yeah, Wolfar is scary,
You gotta
but
explain okay.
but like he doesn't get consistent results.
yeah,
He's
like
fun to play with a really cool skill shot, and everyone wants to pick him. but there's actually surprisingly a big skill range, and he's not OP, so he'll have like a close to 50% win rate. That's what I meant when I said he's Ezreal.
He also he
I think he
breaks.
won't have a 50% win rate.
I think
I
like some stuff he does, like, if he's in an advantageous position, like he's really good at like getting more of an advantage, right? Whereas like I think of a good example of someone that doesn't really do that. Like I guess Mercia doesn't really do that, for example. But
I
if
think Wolfar and Mercia have like about the same potential to snowball their leads, to be
yeah,
honest.
I'm trying to think of who isn't a snowball, but um
Twins.
uh,
Twins don't snowball. You either win or you don't.
like,
yeah, I guess like Koji doesn't really because he takes like quite a long time
oh,
to get his groove up.
Koji with the
Sedge,
lead is like, oh,
alright, Sedge is someone that doesn't snowball early, right? Because he takes quite a while to get his groove up.
yeah, that's true. You need to have the army to go with the groove too.
Yeah, so he doesn't really snowball very well, but
Such as an
Wolfar,
avalanche.
yeah, like Wolfar is like if you don't get that big early lead, then uh you can just like be shut out. Like you can just be sitting staring at your opponent's army and not having a good opening because they're spacing you correctly. But if
Yeah.
you are pushing and like really pushing an advantage, he's really strong in that position because he can continually like allow you to be aggressive.
Yeah, I think it's more about the commander threats. So a map like Dendritic kind of favors him, where there's commanders fighting early.
Yeah, and he can get up to his opponent's stronghold quite quickly, which means he can like, if your opponent's like, oh, I'm gonna put a golem in front of my like stronghold, so you can't just knock it, so you can't like kill me. Like Wolfar could just be like, I'm just gonna like punt your golem away and attack your stronghold anyway.
It's
Um,
true.
He also
So-
has like insane HQ damage.
Yeah, and I guess like if you don't want to like be put in a position where uh you have to deal with like a commander who can do that kind of like snowball thing, then like I would rather like I guess a lot of people would rather face like Volder, for example, because like you can kind of
Not
like
me.
understand how Volder works, right?
Yeah,
or like
Valder doesn't really surprise you when he smacks your villages.
I would rather fight a Wolfar, but Volder is my nemesis.
Lol.
I don't know if Volder's the best example. Like Emmerich maybe actually a better example, because like Emmerich doesn't really do anything that's like super out there, whereas like Wolfar could affect like most of the map with his groove.
I think
you haven't seen like a
yeah,
5 balloon like army drop
I
into
mean,
Emmerich Crystal
Emmerich
play.
is. Oh my goodness, Emmerich is
Yeah,
borked.
but I mean, Emmerich is like, I think if you're prepared for it, it's fine.
Let me rephrase that. Emmerich is situationally borked on certain maps.
Okay, so he's not good.
Okay. But
Yeah,
I mean, like I'm not making my point super well, but like
I think we all have like complicated opinions about Wolfar, so that's why he gets banned a lot.
yeah,
I
that's
guess
fair. And
that's how I
like
sum it up.
when you're like fighting someone and like they golf a dog across the map to kill your commander, and you're just like, oh, that was really clever. I think that happened. Like Mohinder did that to someone in Group of War 4. It was like
Oh,
really
yeah.
sick, but yeah, like he's really he's good and he's scary, but like if you can put him in a position where he's kind of passive. Anyway, he gets banned quite a lot, but not like a huge amount. But he's in that kind of like middling ban where like he doesn't get as banned as much as like I would constantly see Ragnar, I would constantly see Caesar, I would constantly see Koji in those bans. And I knew if one of those got skipped, people would pick like one of those commanders.
You got to remember also, we did a lot of meta popularizing for those three. Koji and Ragna were the go-to pick leading up to the tournament, so everybody knew how to play them. Everybody was constantly playing them. Everybody was good with them, and nobody wanted to play against them after a couple of maps where it was just like, okay, bombs win, Ragna jump wins. I'm done with
Yeah.
these guys. Caesar, Red Jams posted a video saying Caesar is scary. There's a lot of talk about Doggo OP. So we did like a lot of work to tell everybody to avoid these three champs. And
Yeah.
they did it. Maybe
mean-
we're right. Maybe we're wrong. We're probably right. But still, it's an important point to bring up.
I think Caesar being really strong is like just a very consistent thing across the board now. Though there's a lot of people that think he should just be banned. He's like on this similar tier to Ryota and should just be banned.
Well, I mean,
I don't agree with that at all.
Caesar's like even scarier than Wolfar, but I can't play him, so so I kind
I
of like
guess-
it when people ban it for me.
I guess that's the other thing about Caesar as well. Like he's got quite a high skill ceiling, so and because like he's so commonly banned that nobody really practices him. So
That is true.
you're in that situation where like if you're fighting and you're like, oh, I don't want to play a Caesar mirror because like I'm not confident in my own Caesar, but I know he's really strong, so like he's gonna get picked if he's left open. So I think a lot of people are
Right.
banning him because of that.
Yeah, I felt like this came into play a lot actually. Like, people ban the studios that they're maybe not as familiar with, and they leave some strong ones unbanned that they're comfortable playing in the mirror. At least that happened to me a few times, more than a few times, I should say.
Yeah, I think I left Vesper open quite a few times because I was like pretty confident in my ability to play against Vesper.
And Vesper didn't get as banned as much as I thought she would, but she, thinking back to Groove War 4, got banned a lot, but I think that was because people were very unfamiliar with her.
Yeah, I still think people are quite unfamiliar with like playing against Vesper, I guess. They know how to play Vesper now. They don't know how to play against Vesper.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess, like, things are going to change as well. Like, we're looking at, and we had, like, quite a lot of 1-Rax maps this event. Like, one of the big feedbacks we got from a lot of people were, less 1-Rax maps. Like, I mean, it's funny because I don't even really consider Dendritic a 1-Barracks map because it has 2 ports and you make what is essentially infantry out of them. They're just like water infantry that can go on
Expensive
land.
water infantry.
Yeah. So it's kind of like it's got like 1 barracks and like 2 half barracks, which you make merfolk from. So
Yeah,
It's
it's
very-
also got the hideout and the tower, so there's like 5 production on the map, and you're like, yeah, this is a single barracks map.
But it is like it plays differently than if there were 2 racks because you only have 1 land build each turn. So are you going to make a pike or a knight? If you make a pike, can you really get
I
more?
mean,
If you make
kinda have
dogs,
to
are you going to
make
have
a
enough?
mage.
Yes,
Oh,
you,
but-
you have to make a mage at some point. It like forces you to make important decisions.
Alright, so I guess like my big point though is that if you're making units out of your barracks that can't capture villages, you still have the option of using merfolk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see.
Would be
Yeah,
like
that's
one
true.
of the points, which as opposed to Safe Haven, where it's literally a tower, a barracks, and a hideout. And
Yeah, I'd say Safe Haven is way more like single racks. I actually, well, I'm saying that, but I'm the guy who spams balloons, so.
No, I mean I agree with that because on Dendritic you're actually incentivized by the opening to build at least 1 merfolk and usually multiple. So it kind of plays out that you have multiple infantry units, whereas on Safe Haven it's like you only have a few. Plus there's a whole thing about the commanders being quite having a short path to get to the enemy stronghold and they can get aggressive super quickly. So that's how it's different, I feel.
but the big feedback though was, I mean, Dendritic's technicalities aside, like a single barracks map has a lot of potential to have real issues with like first turn advantage, second turn advantage. And you know, we
I'm
saw
not
that same thing.
sure. No, I really disagree with that because I think the problem with Sidewinder and Open Season, the reason they had STA was because of the way the double barracks worked. Like, there's this new trend in map making where like you offset one of two barracks with a commander. But the problem is one of the barracks ends up being useless 6 turns later, so somebody has a huge advantage. I think that's become a major problem with 2-turn racks. I wouldn't say that 1-turn racks has a worse or better FTA or STA. I think it's just a different problem.
Wait, can you clarify what you mean by that? I didn't really understand.
So, like Open Season, for example, it's STA because P1 can get Commander Groove first. They can get to 100%
Player 2,
Groove. Yeah, player 2. They can get to 100% Groove. They can start the village attack chain first. Both players have almost the same chain, but the only real advantage of player 1 is you have first build on that Rax all the way to the left, but that Rax can't stop P2's push into you. At best, you can make an annoyance sword, maybe lose an annoyance sword, but your opponent can do that too, because by the time you reach that side, they also have a sword there. So ultimately, your advantage is kind of wiped out from being P1, and P2 can just take the initiative. And like the same thing with Sidewinder, like there's this one opening where if P1 tries to mirror P2, they just completely lose. I think that's partly due to like the Knight and Thief timing more than anything else. But it's because they can't use the barracks in the same way as their opponent, despite there being 2 of them. Like, I don't think that 1 racks or 2 racks makes FTA or STA. I think it's about who can do that one thing that matters first.
I studied the opening for Sidewinder quite heavily. I don't think it's as bad as you say. Uh, like basically, I guess you're maybe referring to the game you played versus the first game on Sidewinder that you played versus Shu, but because what Shu did was he sent the infantry from the Prion barracks straight for that contested village on the side near the tower. And you didn't do that, which is why you kind of lost after you mirrored, because that part was not mirrored. But if you actually mirrored that from the start,
P1 loses. No, I tested. I went back after that game, and I did like 5 different variants of the mirror. If I completely match what Shu did in game 1, I'm behind by a huge amount every time.
Okay, that's interesting then. I did kind of the same thing and I didn't observe that. So maybe it's just me then.
Like, I literally rewatched what Shu did and made the exact same moves as P1. So I bet you had like a zero big brain thing that changes it a little bit, like you did something different. But if you do exactly what Shu did, you're behind.
Okay.
So like, I mean, the one thing I want to like interject here and like clarify is that 1 racks versus 2 racks on a map doesn't necessarily mean like one or the other has STA, FTA, but the way I've heard it explained is that it's harder to like make changes to balance it, so there isn't as much of a problem with that when you're going up to 2 barracks. Like the more production you put in, the more like ability you have to like tinker with things on a map. To like
Yeah,
balance
because
things
on
out.
a single racks map, if you move commander 1 space, for example, it changes dynamics completely, basically.
I think I
Funnily,
can
like
agree.
the thing that we're seeing now is like people are looking at 3 barracks maps and like going up like bigger sizes and like more production and like trying stuff with that, and like maybe that will like solve things a bit more. I mean, been a lot of discussion as to like, I feel like in general people understand the game a lot better now, like compared to like, you know, when we first started making maps in 2.0, like people who were making maps didn't know the meta of the game. And now that we've played a lot and we've run a lot of events, and I say a lot of events, we've run 2 events, like some smaller ones, but like people know what we're looking for now as far as like, or like have a better idea at least. So it should be like better going forwards. Like people have like more ideas of like things that they should avoid, and yeah, generally like it's all going a lot better. Like I guess like going forward, people like just have like more information to work with.
That's true.
So, and I mean like something. I mean, Sneaky, we
Like,
talked about this.
I just want to make an example. Like, imagine if Rustic was in the Groove of War 5 map pool. Like, I think it would take uh, people avoided Rustic in Groove of War 4, but in Groove of War 5, people would probably have broken that map in a few days, I feel. Because, I mean, the map is bigger, but there's a ton of stuff that's like, for example, the mountain in the center, we tend to avoid that nowadays. There's like other things. For example, there's a rifle that could become an issue at some point. There's a treb. There's a ton of stuff that just kind of breaks the map. That I feel players playing at Groove of War 5 level would break the map way more than it was in Groove of War 4.
People exploit things a lot more now, and you know, I mean, Zero, like you were, like, for context, we're running Test Your Metal. Like one of my maps is in that pool, and Zero, you found an opening for player one that like I hadn't considered at all. Oh, I mean, I'd like sort of had like, oh, you know, maybe this is a thing someone can do, and then you were doing it to me over and over, and I was like, oh, yeah, I need to make changes to this map to, because like I hadn't considered people would really seriously go for that. I thought it would put them at a big disadvantage, but um,
Yeah,
there is only so much you can do when like making maps. But yeah, like I mean, I definitely think like you could have a 1-Rex map that has like good balance between first person, second person, and I definitely think you can have 2-Rex maps that, even though they try, like they will still have issues with like FTA and STA. What I've heard though from people is that like it's harder to make uh a a map with 1 barracks like balance out like more easily. But
definitely. I, I think it's just the nature of the thing. There are more asymmetries because because one player will have to have the first turn on the barracks, and then how do you compensate for that? It's like a big question because it's not really clear like how exactly what's the right balancing point. Sometimes there isn't one, and unless you have other production like ports which allow more folk and stuff. For what it's worth, I think when I was making Titan's Cradle, which is now known in the quick play pool as Brightmoor, um, how it works is that I tried to reduce the number of captures that people have to make so that the capture phase is shorter, and then there's less FTA or STA that arises due to that. So that was one of the design principles. It's probably not as easy to replicate now because we expect maps to have more funds and things like that.
I actually think that map is an example of one that did end up getting broken though, just because of
Really,
the whole like, was it turn 4 dragon?
yeah.
Which
Is that broken? I mean, I feel like there are counters to it, like building your witch, building a witch, but I don't know. It's been a long time since I played that.
And also due to the Merfolk price jump, it's a little hard to play that on a quick play now because
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I need to go back and fix that. But there's no way for me to fix it because it's in the quick play pool now.
yeah, I mean, I'm hoping. I mean, this is a topic for a different podcast. Like Chocofish have hinted that there's going to be updates, right? Like very, very, very minimal hinting that they've done, but you know, maybe there will be another
Uh,
update.
I wouldn't know one way or the other.
Yeah. So hopefully we get something which means we can update the quick match or the quick play pool, because I mean that was the thing, they got a whole bunch of maps from the Groove of War community, like but within like a week a lot of those maps we were like, oh yeah, these are kind of broken, and maybe they would have been fine on like the
I
1.3
mean,
meta,
yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
that was like the thing of like, because yeah, right now, like, if it's funny because you look back at the maps from then and it's like, oh yeah, you could put your stronghold in a more exposed position because spear walls were like so strong back then and so cheap.
Right.
But now it's like, oh yeah, there's like a lot more like knights out on the map, for example. Like those exist way more in the meta, and you know, people are doing things with like balloons and archers and mages and dogs and all these like far more mobile units that are able to like break defenses lines and stuff like that. So
Right.
yeah, but we know a lot more about like how the game plays now. We know more about like designing maps. So hopefully we can do more with like making the quick play pool better in the future, and hopefully we can do more with like making the map pool for the tournament better.
No,
I
you
mean,
talk about like
overall, like very, very, very fun event from
yeah.
start to finish. I'd say for me.
I think. Alright, I'll do a little because I've been talking a lot. I'll just do like a quick one of. I had a lot of fun, but I feel like the event dragged towards the end.
Hmm.
There was definitely it. It definitely felt like it was a 3 month event, and you know we're making changes to make sure that doesn't happen again. Sure, so
3 months. I thought it was longer.
Wow.
it felt it did feel pretty dang long. Well, it was 3 months of event plus like a month of sign-ups, and like for me a month of prep work before sign-up started. So
Fair enough. Fair enough.
but I mean, like, final thoughts on Groove of War 5 before we move on?
Hmm. Uh.
I guess just because it's going to be a big topic, the timer thing.
Oh yeah.
Chess timers versus turn timers, because I know that's a question. I felt like 45 minutes was good, but there were like just one or two games where I was like, huh, if this happened, I'd like more time. If that happened, the time would be a bit of an issue. I have to play like this because of this time. It was like part of it, but I don't know if turn timers would be better because when like just when Sequoia and I were playing quick play like before this stream, it was kind of like neither of us really had to do anything because there's a turn timer. We didn't have to attack. We could take as long as we needed. And I was thinking, this game, if we play this like super seriously and defend really well, this game could go on for hours.
Yeah. Like we only attacked because we knew we had podcast coming up.
I guess like the thing there is you want maps that allow like give you a reason to attack, like um
Oh yeah.
which
Well, I think like you can never make a map where you have zero risk of the game lasting forever. Because if both players trade equally in villages and units and just have to reset over and over, then yeah, the game doesn't end. And I think we've had the timer discussion quite a few times. It's just that I think every time it boils down to sure there could be better things, but 45-minute chess timer seems like the best we have if we want to run an event like Groove of War. And like it's kind of the only realistic one, I'd say.
yeah, right now anyway.
And
If
so I mean we're kind of rolling with that and we're trying to have maps that accommodate it somehow.
I do wish, like, on the timer, I wish there was like a cap as to how much time someone could spend on one turn. Like, I mean, I'm talking like 10 minutes here, so like it's still like quite a lot of time. Cause like there were a couple turns
Oh,
where it was
who did that?
like there was like
that
a
was
few
me and Spacefront. It was the two of us.
Zero
Only
as well.
I did that.
Red Jams, I
Zero
think.
did it.
I think Red
threw-
Jams went over 10 minutes at one point.
I
Ash
burned a
did.
lot of time versus-
Yeah, Ash.
But I think it's a bit rough when it's like you're sitting there waiting for 18 minutes. I mean, Sneaky, you literally messaged me at one point asking if your opponent had disconnected from the game, or if you
I
disconnected
did.
from the game, because nothing
I-
had happened for so long.
Spicy.
I mean, I did actually disconnect from the game versus Alzheimer, but I lost that game. So I think what I did, I had to step away, so I left my game open, and then like the game closed while I was away. So when I went back, I didn't lose timer, and I was like, okay. But I mean, I think I had like over 20 minutes left by the end, and I lost, so it's not too bad.
No,
We
I
would have,
remember
if it had like been a factor, we would have gone back,
Yeah.
like looked at the time and like.
I
cut
also
off stuff.
forced myself to play a little more quickly after that because I was feeling a bit bad.
I remember commentating that game with Barrett, and we both, and I pointed this out. I feel I kind of remember that.
Yeah, it's awkward when that kind of situation comes up. Like, I guess like we almost need someone keeping an eye on that at the point in time. I'm not really sure. Like, I mean, the obvious thing we do is like after the match ends, we go back, we like look at the VOD, and we're like, okay, he spent like this amount of time until this amount of time, and then we just cut that off and we see like, did he actually time out in the end? But it is a little awkward. I mean, that was a result of I mean, this is a conversation we had with Ty on Discord at one point, in the public channels as well. So this isn't like private information, but we were talking to him about putting timers in the game, and he said like the only way they could do it without it costing them a fortune in like server resources is or maybe not a fortune, but it would cost like significantly more money to run the servers if they had like real-time timers being tracked, like on the server side. And the thing there was like the only way they could put them in was to have them so that if someone disconnects from the game and rejoins, that it would reset the timer back to like when they last took a move. So it was like we get timers with this issue or we don't get timers, basically. So
I feel like we reached a good compromise, like all things considered.
yeah, I mean, I kind of wish there was like something they could add that would I feel like there is like some kind of like solution to this, like a programming level solution where like there's like real time timestamps that are being sent with each move, so like the game will like double check just to make sure, and you could do that on the client side. But I mean, I'm not the person that codes the game, so I can only like speak from like a very basic knowledge of programming.
Yeah, it's tricky. And remember, it's not just adding in a new feature. It's adding in a new feature, testing a new feature, bug fixing a new feature. And when you're dealing with clients sending requests, which we kind of know that Wargroove is a little iffy with to begin with, it would take them a lot more work than just like a couple lines of code. So I can kind of see that.
Yeah,
and it's also like it's not their main project right now too.
Yeah, so
They're a
it's
small
very much
company.
I think it's a thing that has a solution. It's just whether or not, like you're saying, they have the resources to put in to solve what is like a very like like niche. It's like very very like a. I'm trying to think of the right words for this. It doesn't happen very often, right?
Yeah, it's an
Um,
edge case.
Yeah,
Oh,
edge
yeah,
case
that's
is wrong.
there we go.
So yeah,
And I don't feel like there's many situations where you'd go, oh yeah, I can cheat here. I'm gonna do it.
yeah, because you would get caught, especially if
I
we're streaming
mean,
it.
even if you don't get caught, it's like you're only winning on time, so you need to like it's like because to win on time you need a lot of things to be like first you need to lock the game or make sure that you can win fights if they attack you and well it's not easy to do that. I mean I've won on game on time I'd say several times so I guess I know it's like an advantage to play faster but I've never really went. Oh, in this situation, I want to be ahead of on time, so I'll cheat. So I'll play faster now. It always just happens naturally.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Um, so I guess to round up the timer thing, with like something we're looking to do is like have timers specific to maps. So I mean, like Iranian Labyrinth was the first time we really realized that that would be a thing we should do, but uh, the one thing like we would consider doing is like if a map we think is going to take a bit longer than 45 minutes, like we would add like we could go to 60 minutes for that, for example. It's funny because I typed in like a general guideline thing into the staff chat about like if it's a 1 barracks map, it's like a 30-minute timer, 2 barracks 45 minutes, 3 barracks 1 hour. And then like we were chatting a bit on staff and like we're like, oh, maybe we should scale that up like by 1 factor each. So like, but we'll test things a bit before we like come to any like final decisions about that. That also that isn't like a hard rule. That was just like a kind of loose guideline. But um
Yeah, I think like from a viewer perspective, I would like to see what you were talking about before, where there are turn timers, but sorry, a chess timer, but a limit to how much time you can take on any one turn, so that like it really comes down to attacking, right? A chess timer encourages attacking. A turn timer encourages attacking, but it's weird because it doesn't always. A turn timer encourages attacking at the start of the game, but doesn't when you start getting big armies. Then it encourages more
Yeah.
conservative play. A chess timer encourages attacking throughout the game, but you can't always do it, and you kind of have to spend a lot of time on a big turn, especially if your opponent did, and it's a little bit weird. But if we had that mix that you were talking about, like chess timer, but there's like a turn timer on top of it, almost, then you'd really, really, really want to go for an early aggressive attack. And no one would have, like, if it was 3 minutes or something, an infinite amount of time to defend against it. So people would just be losing strongholds and commanders, and it would be really aggressive.
yeah, and it's
think
like
Interesting
I think
suggestion in
World of
chat.
War 4 was
About
World of War
Emo.
5 was pretty
It's
aggressive
basically
compared
like
to
you
it.
have a chess timer, but you get some sort of delay before your chess timer starts being used every turn. Like let's say you have 45 minutes in the bank, and then maybe it's 5 minutes before you can spend 5 minutes without exhausting your 45 minutes. Then after that, you start to dip into your bank. And then the interesting part is it could be like it could be different based on how many units there are on the board. So if it's just a few units, then maybe just 1 minute of a delay. But if there are like 10 units, could be a 10-minute delay or something like that. I don't know why I said at the start, but more units equals more delay. And that's a
yeah,
pretty cool idea I've seen tossed around.
yeah,
So,
like I mean that's how quick play, like in theory quick play works like that, but you start off with so many units on like most of the maps that you don't even notice that there's like a that it scales like that because you're when you go to like 2.5 minutes you're like, oh well, we reached this point so quickly anyway. Like we reached the cap so quickly anyway that people just think it's 2.5 minutes, but it is actually based on how many units you have up until that point. It just includes like all your production and all your villages and your stronghold and your commander. So yeah, but that system, that functionality exists in the game. So maybe they will put something like that in. Like I think some kind of mixed timer, like you're saying, like a turn timer that's based on how many units you have, and then there's like a bank on top of that which you can use to spend on more complicated turns would be nice.
I like the idea of an absolute chess timer in the background just because it will prevent an infinite game from happening. Because as
Yeah,
a
me
player, I have to
too.
figure out how much time I'm allocating to this, and my time zones can shift. I might have work problems. Like, honestly, to play a game that takes more than an hour is exhausting. And if it's going to go on for 2, that's the only game I'm playing today.
Yeah, and I mean, like a thing that I suggested, which I haven't brought up in a while, is like it's a chess timer, but instead of like you just lose at 0, let's say it's like let's say it's a 45-minute game. From you would get at least 45 seconds per turn, for example. So it basically goes into like a bullet time at the end. So instead of you just losing, you just get very, very little time to play each turn. Which puts
That
you
would
at
be cool.
yeah, because like it really sucks. Like I mean, it was very exciting when Red Jams lost that one game where he had like 5 seconds left on the clock.
Oh yeah,
But
he missed the lethal by 1 second.
yeah, and it's just like, oh, but that like that kind of it's exciting, but it's like, oh well, actually that's like kind of silly when we think about it.
Hey, I was happy.
I mean,
I,
sure.
I think if Red Gems had more time, Sequoia would have taken more time to set that up.
Yeah, that's true. I rushed because I knew he had 5 seconds left.
It takes about 3 seconds to move a unit. I mean, he would have to move perfectly, and the animations would somehow have to skip themselves. I don't even know if it was possible to end it.
Yeah, I mean, also something we don't really talk about is console players are technically at a disadvantage on timers. Especially in chess actually, where like
I'd say less so in chess, right?
well, because like each action has like a set amount of time. So if a PC player could like if they know exactly what they want to do that turn, they can do it quicker than a console player can, which means that they technically have more time overall because it takes less time for them to like physically input the actions they want to have happen. So there is like a little bit of an advantage for PC players over console
Yeah,
players.
that's true.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. Like maybe they will put like more groove in. But I'm also looking at the time and we're talking about timers for like at least 15 minutes. So
Yeah, we've been on the. How about we go to the second point of this podcast?
yeah. So let's go into like the next topic of discussion because I think that alright, I will say one final thing for Groove of War 5. There is a feedback form. This is the main thing that we read for people like giving feedback on the event. If you have like DM'd me, if you have like typed something in a chat channel or whatever, that basically means nothing compared to if you go to the form and fill it out. Like we use that data to like determine things going forward. That is the main point. So if you are listening to this, even if you're just a viewer or you've just like followed the event, or if you're played, or if you got knocked out in the early rounds, I don't care. Like I want to hear your opinion. Like we as staff want to hear your opinion. And if your main point of like giving us like your feedback was to type it in a chat channel or tell us over a voice conversation or like say in a YouTube comment, that will get buried and forgotten. Like I'm being really real here. If you go to the feedback form, we read the stuff that goes into the feedback form. Like we really do use that data and we read like everything that goes into that and we really weigh that like very heavily. And it's like a publicly accessible form. You can It's in the announcements channel in the Groove of War Discord. We'll go Discord stuff later, but that is like the main like avenue for giving us feedback about the event, and we will genuinely read and care about your opinion. So please fill out the form.
Yeah, we have like uh, half an hour minimum discussions about every point.
Yeah. So, and
Quick
that's
question.
like, oh sorry.
Suppose you have a lot of notes about things that weren't necessarily on the forum. What should you do?
Isn't there something on the form for that?
I think there is like a text box that's general, like a give us more general feedback.
There was? Oh, I missed it.
But if you have additional stuff, right? If you like Sneaky, if you have additional stuff, you can like just like type it out. I mean, hell, you could email like the main.
You can put it in the form, and then the staff will read it.
I mean, like I would like say like
And
message me
it'll
after the
come back to
podcast.
you.
Yeah. I mean, we may like take some additional feedback on top of like the form as well, but my point is that like the responses on the forum, like the number of them haven't been like super high yet, so I just like genuinely want to get more feedback, because when there aren't too many responses to it, and like let's say the timers thing, let's say like 15 people respond to the forum, like, and 14 of them say we want chess timers to continue, but if like the 45 people that entered the event, if the like other 30 people who haven't filled out the form actually want turn timers, we won't hear that feedback. It will just look like we want chess timers again. So it's very much like the more responses we have, the more like data we have to pull from, and the more like accurate we can be going forward. So yes, please fill out the form. We'll make sure it's in the description for the YouTube video for this, and like there is stuff on the forum. Well, Eximo was saying in chat, there's definitely a miscellaneous feedback section on the forum.
All right, then I'll fill it out a second time.
Cool.
Okay. But yeah, like my point is like we really do just want more feedback coming from people. Especially in a place where we can like get it like kind of organized and use that. And it's all anonymous as well. I mean, like there are times when we can kind of figure out who is giving us like particular pieces of feedback based on like what they've said in other chats before and what they're saying in the feedback. But like it's still like anonymous, and we won't like release that information, right? But it is interesting to see what people, because it's anonymous and because like people aren't under any kind of scrutiny, we get to see people's very like honest feedback about stuff. So yeah, it's like you can basically, I'm not gonna say you can say whatever you want, because like that is not, there are obviously limitations. Please don't say I hated this event, like you should all die in a fire. But you can like, I mean, if you didn't enjoy the event, please like let us know, because like that's also really important feedback too. The one thing I am happy about with the feedback so far is that like it's all stuff that I agree with. Like even the very critical stuff about the event, it's all been like, oh yeah, I actually agree with all of this, and this is stuff that like I do think needs fixed and we can improve on, and I agree with like the suggestions of how to improve it. So yeah.
Fun fact, I've been streaming this whole time and I had no idea.
Oh
I thought the raid ended it.
no, you still have to hit end stream. Anyway, let's talk about Groove of War in 2021. Since we've talked about the feedback stuff.
Groove of Nations.
There will be another Groove of Nations. So yeah, Eximo posted this big document that talks about like all the stuff that we're going to be doing over the next throughout the next year. There will be 2 more Groove of War events, Groove of War 6, Groove of War 7, and there will be Groove of Nations again in between those two. We are basically going off of like, originally the idea was we're going to have 3 of these each year. And based on this year, like on 2020, we were like, no, that's really stupid. Like, we cannot fit 3 Groove of Wars into a single year. So we're gonna do 2, and we're gonna split stuff up a bit more. So the Swiss stuff will be like a Swiss qualifier for like a bracket at the end, as opposed to it all just being like one continuous event. And then there will be like a couple of other ways to qualify. Obviously, like the returning champions can qualify as well. So Sneaky and Zero, you have also like automatically qualified for the top 16. So
Right.
yeah, like it's gonna be a bit more spread out. We can make rules changes between like sections of the event. We can change maps between sections of the event. So, you know, we don't end up with like Safe Haven for 3 months straight. Sorry, Faded, your map just happened to, you know, be the I mean, I could like categorically say that like the map was the least popular because of like the feedback form. So
I will say, like, outside of competitive nonsense, it is an amazingly fun map.
yeah, I mean that's the thing, like a lot of these maps like they do well until like you really really try and break them. And it's only when you really try and break them that it becomes like Curse of Rambling Rivers, right? But one day I'll make a version of that map that doesn't have problems. But yeah, like we will, you know, keep going with like the stuff next year, and it should be a lot better. And you know, like Saikora, you were saying, we have another Groove of Nations. It will be a much better run event this year. So Emo's calling me out. Like it's called Rambling Rivers. Like I don't know. Like I know it's like in game it's called Port Mire, but it was called Rambling Rivers first. So called Rambling Range? No, it's not. Rambling Range is the map Rambling Rivers is based on.
Ooh, call them out, Brett.
It did.
Yeah, call out the fake call out.
But alright.
War Groove Otaku fight. Who
Let's
knows
take
the
them.
real history of the maps? Go!
Fight, fight.
I'm just gonna gatekeep. It's gonna be like, yo, if you don't know where like all the map names come from, then like you're not part of the community. You're not a real Wargroove fan, etc.
Whoa. Just for the record, Barrett's straight up joking. That was a joke.
I am being massively sarcastic right now. All right, so let's like start from the top. Like, oh, also, the Fear Dragons confirmed that there's another $1,000 of prize money for the next Groove of War event. So
Oh,
we're starting. They're starting on a pretty strong note of, you know, like there's a lot of like stuff for people to play for. I mean, aside from Shu being like, I don't care about money after winning like $400, but that interview was hilarious, by the way. Like, I don't know if we're gonna put the interviews up on the YouTube channel. They will forever live on my Twitch VODs, though. Like, I cut them out and I'll make playlists and stuff for those. But
I had mentioned earlier there were some players just in it for the honor.
yeah, I mean, I guess like if you're, I mean, just as an example, I'm not gonna say this is you, but if you're someone that like works like an IT job or something, and like it's quite well paying, you know, like $400 is kind of a, it's not like a completely like non-significant amount, but it's if you're making like pretty good money anyway, like it's not life-changing, right? So
It's still a significant amount, though.
yeah, but I mean, if you're someone that's earning six figures, for
I
example,
mean, if he doesn't want it, I'm sure he'll find other people that can, free him from. I think Shu just wants to win to troll the servers with his emotes. To be honest.
honestly, yeah, his emotes have been great though. I love Curse Thomas. Like,
Oh,
it's such a good
Dear
emote.
God.
it is so horribly cursed.
It is, but like it elicits an emotion that I don't think other emotes do. And
Yeah, but yeah,
I can't put it into words.
but anyway, right, next year. So, we're starting off strong. Like, how do you all feel about like there being like some more qualifiers, like it being spread out a bit more? Like it's not like this 3-month marathon anymore. It's gonna be like split up a bit so people can like qualify in a bunch of different ways.
I like it, but I think folks who are qualified should not be able to stump other people who they don't want to qualify. Like there should be I don't know what the word griefing. There should be griefing protection. I don't know if people would actually do that, but it could be like unintentional, like, oh, I just want to play, but then you end up fighting somebody who's really, really good who might beat you in like the tournament just because you want a strong match and it doesn't matter to you. But then like if they lose that, then like I guess maybe like just we gotta watch out for like stuff like that and tune it a little bit, like to make sure it's fair. But
I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
you can see the ladder, right?
yeah, there will also be like the ladder system as well. I I'm very curious to see how the ladder system works. I'm a little worried as well about shenanigans taking place because it's not an automatic ladder. It's people host lobbies and there's like ranking points on the line for it.
I'm gonna tell you straight out, I plan on playing a bunch of games and losing them because there's something I want to learn, and I'm gonna spam losses until I figure it out. So get ready, bottom of the ladder, here I come.
Just watch out for all these sneaky real chess lobbies.
I'm already bottom of the ladder on that one.
Can we have that on the ladder, please?
I will consider it. But I mean, yeah, like the idea is that it's something that we can control as opposed to like quick play where it's like. So I mean, here's the frustrating thing: is quick play has a hidden ELO rating, and that data is actually available to Chucklefish. They just choose not to display it. I really hope that one day, like if they do update the quick play stuff, that they would not, even if it isn't in game, even if it's like a website thing, like Age of Empires 2 has like a website where you can like see the ladder and all the rankings, and like I know Warcraft 3 used to do that as well. I don't know if it still does. Oh, actually, I know it doesn't do it anymore because they removed their ranking system for their ladder. Because who knows? I don't. Warcraft 3 is dumb. Anyway, uh, it, I think I really hope that like Chucklefish will add some stuff to make it a little bit better as far as like people being able to see like what kind of ranking like they're going for. But yeah, like until that point, like we need to have like some kind of system which we can like update the map pool for regularly, do like soft resets for ladder points and have like little seasons and stuff, and like have like actual like benefits to competing. So like some of the qualifiers, like like the smaller ones towards the end, like to like is when the actual like final 60 player event is coming up. Like those last spots, like you'll have to like be high up on the ladder to even be able to play in those qualifiers. Most of the I think it's like at least half of the qualifier spots are going to be like completely open though, so like anybody can play in those qualifiers. But yeah, like I'm a bit curious and slightly scared of the new ladder. But I hope it goes well.
Now I'm looking forward to it. I think this is a chance to like legitimize some rankings and play a lot of really good games in a way that like kind of matters, but at the same time,
Yeah, because old ranked was kind of like, yo, it's ranked. Woo.
Here's some
And then we
maps
were
that
still trolling in ranked.
yeah, and like here's some maps that people haven't played in 9 months. Like just go for that.
Oh yeah.
Like who wants to play Dendritic for the 800th time?
Who wants to play what's that map called again? Before the Flood.
ah,
Unironically, what's wrong with that one?
Trebs are still open.
Oh,
Right. Yeah, we
That's
Let's see.
that's about it. Also center kind of like golem camping spot, stuff like that. I mean that's less of an issue, but it's mainly Trebs.
just for me personally, I have nightmares about balloons. Sorry, about barges. I have nightmares about barges on that map.
I remember that.
If you
That
said
track
balloons, I would
game
also totally believe.
where I hid my commander in a barge, and then I had to protect the barge from the dragon.
That was a fun game, actually.
well, we'll see. I mean, it does come with like the downside of like people could dodge people they don't want to play, and like we're gonna try and like if people are like abusing it in a really obvious fashion, we will of course step in and be like, yeah, no, like that's not cool, and like probably either give them like a temp ban from the ladder or at least like reset their points. Like that, something along those lines, but hopefully people just like treat it as a way to get games and like don't take it too seriously.
I mean, I guess it's a way to put value on the games you play, I think.
Yeah, and it's not like it's like super high level pressure, right? Like if you lose a ladder game, okay, like you still have, however many months to reach the top of like the
To farm
ladder.
sneaky.
Although I do remember a story of like Day9 was like telling a story on his stream one time of he had to like reach a certain point on like the ladder that he was playing on to be able to qualify for a tournament he wanted to play in. This is a long time ago. And he like lost the game. He like I think he'd stayed up like 16 hours playing on the ladder trying to like get enough wins to get high enough, and he kept losing and getting more frustrated. And then I think he like hit the point where he knew he couldn't like actually qualify for the event he wanted to play in anymore, and he just smashed his keyboard in rage.
Oof.
So hopefully we don't get anything like that, but
Let's do the ladder qualifiers before the open qualifiers.
So
I think there's one before and one after.
That
Like
works.
the way
yeah, actually I
time.
think we had to rechange that because we realized that like the Swiss portion would take quite a while. Also, even if we open the ladder like right now, that doesn't give people a lot of time to play ladder games before like the first qualifier. So I think it's gonna be. It might actually only be like one qualifier, but like all 4 spots are up for grabs. But I think the advantage we have of doing the Swiss system first. Right, yeah, Eximo's confirming only one ladder qualifier after Swiss. The advantage of doing Swiss first is that means like all 8 people that qualify through Swiss, like you cut those spots off of the ladder, so like you don't have to go up the ladder as far to qualify for those. So, like let's say the top 4 people from Groove of War 5 are in like the top of the ladder, and like the top 8 from Swiss are also in the top of the ladder. that means you'd only have to be in like the top 28 players in the community to be able to still enter the single Elim qualifier. Okay, so normally there'll be one before and one after Swiss. That'll be like Groove War 7. We'll do that. I think it's just because, technically speaking, like the rank system should already be up, and we should already be preparing to do the first like open or the first like ladder qualifier even. That would be in February normally. So
Yeah, it's
just
hard to be ahead of things when when you're making decisions like at the end of the event, I guess.
yeah. So at least like going forward, it will make more sense and be a bit more streamlined. And who knows, maybe by 2022, like there'll be like an automated ranked system in the game, and we won't have to do any of this ourselves. But for now, like we're working with what we can. Be kind of funny though, seeing like, because I know for a fact that like there are some really good players that aren't on any of the discords, but play in like open lobbies and stuff. Like I guess like Brown Jesus is really good.
Oh, there was like that. He had a rumor surrounding him in a while.
What kind of rumor?
It was like, well, it was basically like, oh hey, there's this very good player that's only in open lobbies.
I just remember the first time like I saw him play, and it was like Best Sakia was streaming, and he opened up a lobby for, I think it was one of his older maps that held up quite well in 2.0. And he opened up a lobby and Brown Jesus joined, and that's the first time I'd heard of him. And like he like Mori, like Best Sakia lost like
Oh, wow.
pretty convincingly. Like it was a good game, but like he got beaten, and then he opened up another lobby, and it was, Brown Jesus joined again and won, and it was just like, oh, like Mori's playing quite well. Like I can tell by watching him that he's like doing a bunch of like good plays. Like he's just getting outplayed by his opponent, and it was just like,
That's cool.
oh. And then I think we like opened up a bunch of lobbies. Like people in the Discord started opening up lobbies with Brown Jesus, please join my game. And like Brown Jesus, please join the Groove of War Discord. People would name the lobbies that, and
Wow.
he would just like he would show up and play the matches and win, but we never like got him to join the community.
Or we did, and they're secretly mercenaries.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, oh.
It was just
That'll be
mercenaries
something.
out to not play Ryota.
But it's a shame that we can't like if there was like an automated system in the game, it'd be kind of cool to see like some new names like come out of nowhere, that weren't part of like the Discords. But we do what we can, right?
Whoa! I just saw my TYM bracket for Ouroboros. What is this? This is murder.
Yeah, good luck in there, you know? Is it? It's almost as, I mean, I guess it's Rambling Rivers and Ouroboros are like very stacked this TYM.
Yeah, they really are. Like I put myself in the second group because like I don't know if I really deserve to be in the top group. But even the second group is pretty good. Like the players there. I already lost one of my Rambling Rivers matches and almost lost one of the other ones. I got really lucky with RNG. So yeah, it's tough. Like there's a lot of really good players in the community now.
But for those of you who are just starting out, don't worry, you will be replaced in a reasonable bracket with folks of your skill level.
Yeah,
Exactly.
one of the brackets was actually like almost entirely new players. I think there was like one person in there that was like he'd been in the generally it's like there's some people that are in the community but they're not in the top echelon, and I try and like I make sure that those people aren't always in the like lower brackets for the events. Like I try and like divvy it out a bit, so like like someone might be in like a lower ranked pool for like one thing, but like in the like middle pool for the other stuff. But yeah, we do try and make sure that like new players are put in like new player groups, and also, you know, the more people that enter, if you're a new player, like the more we can like make sure that people are playing other new players. So yeah, and also there's prizes which you can win, and that's based on, and like we haven't really talked about this too much, but Test Your Metal does have prizes, and it's based on how many matches you complete, with like a little bit more weight towards like the person that wins their group. It doesn't matter which group, if you win one of your groups, you get like a slightly higher chance of winning a prize. But as long as you're like playing all your matches, like even if you lose, as long as you actually like finish your match, then like you get a chance to win a prize, and it's completely free. So that's my shilling Test Your Metal now.
Actually, I think this is the first time I completely wipe one of the pools I'm in Test Your Metal.
Congrats.
It's Rio that chess move.
Oh, I mean, spoiler alert, but did you beat Elsame?
Oh, I sure did.
Damn. I was kind of tempted to make Rio Chess the best of 3, but we've never done that for a Test Your Metal before, so
As someone who lost on turn 0, I can say I'm happy with the results. It was fun.
Oh my god. Oh, I'm waiting for that video.
Yeah, I'm posting it literally right after this. I lost a game in 0 turns.
right? Okay.
Incredible.
I mean, alright, so we talked a bit about the ladder, we talked a bit about Groove of War. I mean, like, one change we would make for Groove of War 6 is like, so we did a kind of like lower bracket for like people that got knocked out in the round of 8 for like I guess you say the winner side. We're gonna extend that back to like the round of 16, so those people can play up until 5th place. So if you lose in like the round of 16, you can still work your way up and get 5th, potentially. We don't run pure double elim like regular because it just takes too long. I did the math. It's like a single elim bracket, but letting people play like who lose in the first 2 rounds of winners like go up to 5th takes like 4 or 5 weeks. If you do straight double elim, it takes 8 weeks at least. So it just like adds so much time to the event. And also just doing like pure single elim would take 4 weeks. So like the difference between 4 weeks and 5 weeks is like pretty manageable. But in the case
Yeah,
of
and if the two like brackets, like if the losers one goes a bit faster than the winners one, it might catch up. Especially since the winners one probably prepares more and has a best of 5 at the end.
yeah, but it's just like, and then you get into situations where like it takes 8 weeks, and then like the finals is like either do that thing where you do like a best of 5 with like the person in winners like having one match, like having a single win automatically, which like some games do, like StarCraft does that. I think some other games do it as well. Or you run like the actual double elim style where like the loser has to win one set and then they play another set after that. And yeah, we that would take forever. You're potentially talking like 10 games there for like one set, and that
So I gotta ask, if like the 2 people who make it to the finals never lost, do they play again if one of them loses? How does that work?
No, it's like with losers bracket, it's basically like grand finals, and there's just regular finals. Well, the winner side of finals and then the loser of that goes into the losers bracket, and then he can win there and then come back into the grand finals. So it's like kind of weird.
Yeah, like the idea is you have to lose twice to get knocked out of the event. So like, imagine like a regular bracket, you play your finals there, and then like what Psychoia said, like you go to the lower bracket, you fight the person that's like worked their way up to the lower bracket, and like the winner of that goes through and plays the grand finals. And like if you win your first set in grand finals, then congratulations, you have to beat them again because they've only lost once in the tournament at that point. And it works really well for a lot of games that are really quite fast paced. So fighting games it works well for, because like even though like I've like PO'd a Smash tournament where like we had a bracket reset finals and it was best of 5, like both sets, and they went 10 games in, and that took an hour. But even then, like, you know, that's like as long as it would go. It went for an hour. Whereas like let's say like Wargroove, instead of those games being like 6 to 8 minutes, like 5 to 8 minutes long or whatever, like each you're now talking about with like Wargroove, like each of those games could be like an hour and a half. You go to 10 games, like that's basically like an entire day straight of playing Wargroove at that point.
Yeah, that's a bit much. So hypothetically, if like I don't know, just the people who are to the left and right of me, Psychoia and Zeronix go on like a killing spree, defeat everybody, make it all the way to the finals, neither one loses. Then Psychoia beats Zeronix, and then
Of course.
they play again, and Zeronix beats Psychoia. They play a third time.
Yep.
So yeah, you would play winners finals, person goes down to losers finals, play someone there, then they come back up to grand finals. So yeah, you could like in theory play someone 15 games in a tournament, and there would only be like a single set gap between like all 3 of those sets where you're playing best of 5s. Yeah, we wouldn't do that in Groove of War. We technically like that was the system we used in Groove of War 3, but it was a 2-0 and it was the person on winner side that won. So like it didn't come into it right, like because the person on winner side only has to win once. But yeah, like double elim, like pure double elim doesn't work with Wargroove. Just because it would take like absolutely forever. Unless we were doing like a bullet time tournament, and even then, like, yeah, that would be kind of ridiculous. So, yes. So yeah, like we'll kind of do like our like single elim bracket, but like I'll let people who lose in the early rounds have a chance of like making their way up to like 5th place. I think that would work. You could do double elim with 1 game sets. I don't know if the players would really do that.
I'd have to test a bit, cause
I think
I
if
don't
we
know.
were going to do like a double elim style system, we would do best of 5 with the person in winner side getting a game advantage. That is like fairly common, and seems to be like fairly like people generally seem to be okay with that. So we didn't do it in the past because someone was like, oh well, you know, if it's a best of 3 and one person's 1 game up, then they only have to win once, and that's not really great. And then we changed it to a best of 5 finals. But yeah. But anyway, enough about Groove of War. Let's talk Groove of Nations.
Yay!
So, Corey, tell me how France is going to win this time.
Oh well, so basically we win every 2v2. It's been established. We simply never lose a 2v2. So we already have that advantage, right?
Seems legit.
Yeah, Group of Nations is like super fun because like I mean we still have the the French server that's left over, like the French Wargroove team server kind of thing. And we don't have just the people that are actively involved in Groove of Nations in there. We also just have French players in general, which is like really nice. And I think really the highlight of Groove of Nations for me is that it's really that team environment where like you all get together to discuss maps, to practice, to like test out openings against each other, and then you're like debating which commander is good here and there and who gets to pick which one. Who it's like during the first Group of Nations, we've had Linai and Alpha join. They were like fairly new. I think Linai especially was super new, but like I think we still had all of us had so much fun. They progressed like so fast. Linai, uh, well, I mean, kind of, he got two tiebreakers in the GMT bracket after after his Revenation training. So I think it's really fun, and I think I progressed quite a bit too. Not just because we had Space Run in the team, but also like in general discussing and training with others is such a great boon to everyone. And also it's like uh, I learned to be like I got the mentality to be more consistent in my way of playing. I mean, I still gotta work on that with the commander, but uh, I think like when you're in a team environment, you're looking more for like a consistent way to win rather than uh, I don't know, like fishing for lethal or something or waiting for a mistake. So I think
Who
that's
does
like a
that?
big part of that's a big part of why I improved so much right before Groove of War 5. So yeah, it was just just amazing overall.
Actually, I have a question. When you're in the French server, is everybody talking about the game in French?
Yeah,
Okay, so I mean that.
I mean we kind of mix up like commander and unit names sometimes, but like it's fine.
I mean, I guess it's just like it must be like nice to be in like an environment where you can like talk about the game and like. I mean, I just assume that French is like your first language,
Yeah.
so like that alone, like just having that kind of experience where you can talk about the game with people, um, in like your like native tongue would be like really nice.
Mm, I think it's also like the fact that I guess you're in a smaller group, so you can kind of conspire together to to beat the others and stuff.
To be the others. Oh no. Secret French strats.
Yeah, the French red strats coming for you.
Surrender is the French strat.
Oh,
uh, like for example, like with Space Fronts, we discussed actually quite a bit of, and I mean not just Space Front. There was other players too. Uh, we discussed 2v2 quite a bit, which is kind of what got me into trying to make 2v2 maps. Haven't been that successful yet, but I'm working on it. uh, and there, like some, for example, Wolfar becomes so strong in 2v2. I think it's just like very interesting. Like you have some potential for Wolfar. Errol's water into V2 to be like actually better than Mercia. Uh, there's also just some super meme combos like Tenry and Emmerich, or like some absolutely busted things like Greenfinger Ryota. Also, you can just I think it just opens up many things that are pretty new. So I think if we can like actually make a map that's not that's playable as a 2v2, it's pretty good.
I just thought of like a really dumb combo with Wolfar. If you have Wolfar and twins and dubs, like you could golf something into a fire, and depending on the turn order, uh, like the person wouldn't be able to move that unit out of the fire.
Yeah, there's also like some weird interactions where like depending on turn order, you can abuse transports, but only against one player in a depending on the way it happens and stuff.
Oh yeah, I've definitely
Oh, I
had some of
remember
those.
like we got that commander snipe with against Sneaky and Shu, right?
That's pretty cool.
Because we basically like preloaded Ragna into a balloon, and then I baited Shu into attacking my CO, and then we dropped Ragna, and then Ragna was moving before Shu's commander, so we just killed him.
Lol.
Dubs meta is definitely odd. I made a 2v2 map. I really need to go back and revisit that. Um, the way that I felt that like a good doubles map, or at least like a type of doubles map could work, is like you and your teammate are in opposite corners of the map. So it creates the kind of, you know how there's like that kind of like weak side strong side idea. Um, everybody has that. So like you have a strong side against, like, let's say you're in the bottom right, you have a strong side against the top right, a weak side against the bottom left, and it creates this kind of like rotation around the map, and like you're constantly trying to like figure out like how do I like defend my weak front while also pushing my strong front. Like I think that could work quite well.
Yeah, I've been thinking a bit. It's like because like when I was trying to make it 2v2 map, I was like, okay, so I don't want the map to be basically two 1v1s where you can help your teammate in the middle or something. Because I mean, it's kind of not the point of being a 2v2, right? So I was trying to make maps that would incentivize to having like mixed armies, but it's pretty difficult to do that. Uh, I didn't try the rotational thing yet. It could work, especially if you have like some somewhat mixed production, like you got the tower and the barracks on opposite sides and stuff like that.
Ooh, so like one player has like one Rax and a tower, and the other player has like two barracks.
No, I was thinking like in the corner you have your barracks and like your commander, but your teammate has your tower in that corner, basically.
Interesting.
I really like these kind of dynamics. So I made a, I made a like a map with a pre-deployed wagon, and it's absolutely insane opening it.
Pretty
uh,
cool. Pretty cool.
We'll have to maybe one day we could put a 2v2 ladder up. I think it comes down to we need to do like, I mean, I might just like start streaming the game more, and also like just like get on and play. I mean, because I've been like, just to note, I mean, this is me kind of plugging myself, but I've been streaming like 5 days a week this year so far. And I see absolutely no reason for me to stop. I really enjoy that. I only stream for like anywhere between like 1 and 4 hours a day, but I would absolutely love to just like sit and play like 2v2s with people and like try and work out on some map stuff. So maybe that's something we can do. We are coming to the 2 hour mark, by the way, speaking of. So I guess like, I mean, is everybody here going to be entering Groove of Nations this year coming?
I am.
I would like to, but I don't really have a nation to represent.
Yeah, there's the global thing too.
Yeah, if there's
Oh,
like a global team, I might enter that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Global
wow.
Hunters was a thing. Um,
I mean, I will say like it's pretty difficult to schedule all the matches. So, especially for the 2v2, it's like the 2v2 comes down more to like who can play at the same time than the three other people than like uh, who is better, like who wants to play the 2v2 basically.
I think that was part of why like the roster was so large, or like we allowed the roster to be so large, because um we knew like not everybody would always be able to play, so someone could be on the team and like maybe they're not like the strongest player on the team, but they might just have the right availability to play that week. Um, of course, there's the
Yeah,
idea like it's the event isn't as serious as a Groove of War. Like it's meant to be more about like what you're talking about, like creating these kind of like small sub communities, where people can like talk to people like in their own language, who share their own culture. Um, because there is something nice about just being able to chat with people from like that you have like a lot of common ground with outside of the game. So yeah, like if you like anybody could join the team, right? Like I mean, I take it like if someone was like, "Hey, I'm a French player," like I heard there's a French server, like a French Discord, like you would totally be up for like just letting them in, right?
yeah. I mean, I've been looking at like from time to time. I'm like, oh, that's a French name in the Discord. I'm like, yo, you wanna join? Sometimes they're like, oh yeah, why not? Sometimes they're like, not really.
That's fair.
Which I
But
mean, fair enough. Like,
yeah, but like I guess when Groove of Nations comes around, they might be like, "Oh, well, I actually feel like playing on my country's team," or like maybe just like coming in as a training partner for people, you know. Um, but yeah, like I'm kind of curious to see what happens for the
it's
next one.
actually funny because we had someone that couldn't play the game yet, but he was very like with the team, like in spirit and like theory crafting and stuff.
That's really cool. Did they actually end
yeah.
up getting a copy of the game at some point?
uh, I'm not sure, but it was fun regardless, and they were nice.
Okay. Well, let me know who they are. I'll see what I can do to hook them up. Um. Uh. Or if they're
Oh,
still around
actually,
even.
no, I think it was Alpha because he was on PS4 before it was crossplay.
Oh
And
right.
then eventually he got his copy. So, like, I think, oh yeah, it was at first he wanted, like, he was basically like half participating because he was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to play, and then he was able to play. So it was like, yo, nice.
That's cool. Oh yeah, because I remember Alpha, like we ran like the world's tiniest test your metal bracket where it was like the two people that had PS4 copies of the game, because the crossplay wasn't a thing yet. People in the chat saying Alpha's really good. I mean, I can't remember if I've played him yet actually. This is one thing I hope the ladder does, is I can just sit and play people. That would be really fun. Um, actually playing Test Your Metal this time and like having a really good time playing against new people. And I lost to Etam, I think is their name, or I think
Oh,
that's how you
the
pronounce it.
one and only.
So yeah, like it's been cool like getting to play people, and people are really good. Like everybody's like much better at this game now. So forward to that. With Groove of Nations, I hope we get to see like more teams that enter this time. Like I mean, Zero, I know you're saying like you might not necessarily have a team uh that you feel like you can be part of, but who knows? Like maybe like you say like, "Hey, I'm from like this country of origin. I actually don't know where you're from."
I'm from somewhere in Asia.
Okay, but
I
I
was
mean,
gonna throw a guess, but I guess I'm not.
that's the thing is you could be like, maybe there's like an Asia team, like because I'm okay. Like there was a Latin America team. Um,
Yeah.
I think they were like Mexico, Brazil, and I think there was another country in there as well. But I know like the Brazilian players and the Mexican
I
players were
think
like, we don't have enough.
maybe Argentina
That could
Maybe.
be.
or Chile. One of
Possibly
these
all of those. But yeah, like it's very much like you can be like a group of nations working together, right? Like if there's like 3 Australian players and 2 New Zealand players and they all want to play, I'll just be like, you could totally just have Team Oceania, right? Like the minimum is 4 people, so
That would be cool. Yeah, we'll look forward to that.
yeah. And like what we'll probably do is we'll put up a channel in the Discord, which we did last time. It'll be team recruitment. And we can be like, yo, like people who have teams you can advertise here. And because everybody's more established now, like, you know, Team France obviously pretty established. You can be like, yo, we're Team France, we have our Discord, we've been playing together, and like we have a nice little chill atmosphere. So yeah, we can do like more stuff like that. And that was like the real reason that I wanted like probably the main reason I wanted Groove of Nations to be a thing, was I wanted people to have like those little communities, which hopefully become bigger communities. Like maybe one day, like the Team France Discord will have like 100 people in it.
That would be something.
That would be pretty good for Wargroove in general, I feel.
Yeah, and you can have like those environments where like you're all like, you know, good friends that are cheering each other on. So, okay. So I mean, we're past 2 hours. I just want to quickly go over the server merge stuff. This is like a fairly big thing that happened recently. We announced it at the Groove War Finals. It got brought to us by Chocofish 3 months ago now, something like that. I think it was before Groove of War 5 started that they asked us about this.
That was a while ago then.
It was a while ago. And we were like, because at the time we only thought Groove of War 5 would last like 2 months, right? So, well, we'll get Groove of War 5 out of the way, then we'll do the announcement. And Groove of War 5 ended up taking a month longer than expected. But this has been in the works for a while. They were like, hey, we really like what you're doing, we want to support you more. Like, come be part of the main Discord. Like, we can provide you with like a bunch of extra resources in terms of like our admins for like the Discord. So, you know, like they already had their own admin team. It kind of creates like, gives everybody like one like kind of home to rest under. It means that everybody only has to point to one Discord. So rather than them saying, hey, go to this third party Discord that we don't have any control over, like to play in these events, just like you just go to the main Wargroove Discord now, right? And
Yep.
that will be like, I think it's the end of this month. We're not gonna delete the Groove of War Discord. It'll always be there as like an archive, if nothing else. But I believe the plan is to like completely lock it down for posting at the end of this month. At least that's like my rough understanding. And then, like obviously, you know, things can change. But people generally seem to be okay with the change. We opened up all the channels like 2 or 3 days ago. We're still making adjustments, of course. Some channel names are not quite 100% accurate to what like the goal is for those channels, but yeah. And yeah, I think we still need to move some of the bots over as well. But like once all that's done, then like we'll have our own. We do have our own competitive section, which is basically a group of war channels that weren't in the main Discord already. And also there were some updates to the Discord in general. Like creative is like a section now, so people who are streaming or making videos, like yourself, Sneaky, like we have places to post those kinds of content without worrying about it being like buried under like a pile of like people talking about why they think Sigurd's the best commander in the game.
And she is.
Lol.
She has the best fan art, I will say that.
That's the only important, as any fan knows.
But
I mean, she has pretty. What are her stats in Groove of War 5? Like win rate?
Has to be pretty.
Because Alsami won with her, right?
Did he? No, he didn't. He won with
Yeah, he
LD.
did versus me.
Oh, versus you. Okay.
oh, okay. I think some people were picking her quite a lot and losing, so yeah, I don't think her stats are that great, but
Oh,
who knows? Maybe more Groove she'll get buffed.
Groove. That secret thing that we keep hearing about, but no one really knows what it means.
Was More
Yeah.
Groove just the server merge? I've been wondering about that.
yeah. I've also been wondering. Might have been.
I don't
We'll
think it
see.
is.
We will never know. Or maybe we will.
I
But
mean,
It's gonna be a.
I feel like it's not. That's like my impression. I don't think a Discord server merge would like warrant them teasing it on social media.
do you feel like it, or do you wish?
I mean, I guess we'll find out, or not
Yep.
find
I
out.
guess we will.
Wasn't Morgoth hinted that well before Barrett announced the merge? I mean, it was, but technically speaking, like they could have said Morgroove as a hint to us announcing that the Discord merge would happen. But I don't think it would. I don't think a Discord merge would have been what Morgroove was about. I think Pilgrim joked about that in Discord, but no.
She's Pilgrim is playing 4D chess. We can't compete.
Maybe. But yeah, I mean, so we're all gonna be under one Discord. Need to go through all the YouTube videos and make sure that they have the right link forwarding people. Although, actually, even if it does forward people to like the old Groove of War Discord, there will be a link there saying we've moved, go to the main one.
Yeah, I guess that's the easiest way to do it.
But I know like YouTube has a copy and replace thing, so we'll need to like use that and try not to break everything in the process. But yeah, how do people feel about the merge so far?
So far, a bit more scrolling, but less clicking in between all the servers all the time. And I've been using Control K a bit more.
What does Control K do?
I think it's good, and we're doing well.
Sorry, what does Control K do?
Basically, you can like you find channels without having to click on them.
I did not know that.
Basically.
Interesting.
But Snaky, like, how do you feel about the Discord merge?
I don't know. I got mixed feelings because, like, big Discords can have a different effect than small Discords, and but Wargroove needs like people playing to populate it. Like, you see people in the matchmaking channel, you want to jump in. It used to be like, I don't know, when I first joined, that there were a lot of casual players in the regular Wargroove matchmaking. There were a lot of competitive players in the GW. So I thought like 2 servers at the time was fine. But like then it started getting like when we're running an event, nobody's playing anymore, and it's hard to find matchmaking, and then people don't show up in the Discord anymore. So I think like putting everybody in one place will keep it more active for sure. So I think it's a good thing, just for the sake of finding matches when there's like an event going on, and so that like people see it's active, and then it's like more of a positive feedback. Like they show up more, they bring on more people, and they stick around because there are more events. They can see the events. I think it'll be a good thing for Wargroove's just community in general.
All right.
Yeah,
I was
sounds
seeing
about right.
like some people quite often were just like posting in both Discords at once.
I do remember whenever Ty would pop up, there was a point when he joined the Groove of War Discord as well, and he was talking in both at the same time, and people on both Discords, or people so like the same person would be responding to him on both Discords, and it would just be like there are like people are having the same conversation on 2 Discords, and it's the same people on both, and it's just like this is really confusing.
I can see that.
But I mean, Zero, like I mean, like you're kind of like you haven't really weighed in yet. Like how do you feel about like the Discord merge so far?
I think it's a good thing. Overall, it'll like help us get more visibility of the community. Like one thing I always was concerned about was that competitive Wargroove would just slowly die off because no one, like you have a small community of like competitive players, but over time it's just there's not enough people, and then it kind of just dissolves. So that was always one of my big fears about Groove of War, and I think like merging with the official Chucklefish Discord is a great way to make sure or delay that or make sure it won't happen. Like it'll be really good for the health of the overall community that we get more visibility and interaction.
Yeah, because there's that thing about like when like to get people to come into the competitive community in the first place, like first thing they have to do is find like the main Discord normally, and then like they'll like talk to people there, and they'll be like, oh well, I have to go join this other Discord to play in the competitive events. Like, will they like be even willing to do that? Like if someone's new, they can feel very intimidated. Like when I joined the Groove of War Discord, I felt very intimidated by all these people that were like way more experienced with the game than me. Like my experience playing the game in multiplayer was I just play quick play and stream it, and I didn't really have a lot of like when I joined Groove of War, it was like, oh well, all these people have like AWBW in their name tags, like they must like be really good because they've played this other game that like is very similar.
I actually removed mine for kind of that reason. I don't really want people to get intimidated by. I guess it doesn't work now.
Yeah, you're just they're totally not intimidated by that Groove of War 2 champion role you have.
To be fair, I think you can't see that anymore. I'm not sure.
I hate to say the Zero, but anybody who watches my YouTube channel knows that you're good at this game.
I think you can just click on your name and it
That's also
shows, right?
true.
But it was kind of like it's like walking into like a biker gang or not a bike like a
Biker game. Oh, okay.
or like it's like walking into like a bar or something and seeing like a bunch of people wearing like biker gang outfits or something, and they've got like their logos on the back of their jackets with like
anyone wants to join my biker gang?
the Advanced Wars by Web biker gang, yeah, like. But you get what I mean. Like when you see like there's like a group of people like with like a kind of shared identity, like a clan or whatever, or like anything like that. There's like a level of like, oh, are these like really good players? Because you know the people that were winning the events back then, they had AWBW associated with them, right? Like, oh,
Yeah, in all seriousness, I do understand. Yeah, that is a legitimate concern.
but it's I mean, someone's gonna clip this and we'll get more fan art, but or fan fiction even. The Wargroove Biker Gang.
after the 7, which is the Groove of War biker gang.
The second you said that, I just pictured like Zergronix's, I don't know, profile pic, and who would even be in this gang? I don't know, just Shu, Red Gems, or something, just like kind of walking forward and snapping and like.
Somebody please make that fan art.
Yes, please. Oh, that would be so great.
Please.
Oh my goodness, Zero. We still have to face off for Red Gems challenge. If either of us win, there's an
you mean the
option.
puzzle- in the puzzle thing?
Yeah, didn't Red Gems say whoever wins could?
Oh yeah.
Actually,
he
there's
did say
something in
that.
particular I want. But if you don't have anything in mind, if you win, you could always fan art.
Ooh, okay. I'll see. I'll think about it.
But alright, biker gangs aside, like there is like a general sense of like it being kind of intimidating when you're walking into like going from like the general Discord to like the competitive one. Like people can feel a bit like out of place at first. So yeah, like I think everything being under one roof. There is a beginners channel. I don't know if I don't know if it's completely set up yet, but there will be like that will be like locked to just beginners, and you know, a handful of like volunteers that are willing to just like answer questions without being like condescending and stuff. Or I don't know if condescending is the right word, but you get what I mean. Like people who are just like,
Yeah.
Not feeling like they're entering a biker gang.
yeah,
Sorry, Barrett. It's stuck now. You can't get rid of it.
you just call the beginner channel like no bike zone.
Oh no. Oh man.
They just play better. I mean, like I did remember Shu saying to someone once, that if they ever played like that again, that they would never play them again.
Wait,
That
That was a
really?
long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
I have a hard time imagining you saying that actually.
Yeah, I also have a heart. Shu like strikes me as the kind of person who doesn't care.
Yeah,
He'll
I mean
just-
He
that
doesn't
was a
care
long
except
time
when
ago.
he's trolling and memeing.
Yeah, but I think that was. I mean, maybe that person was playing particularly bad. I don't know, but
It doesn't matter. Ultimately, like Shu is like recently, even months recently, been like really, really nice.
yeah,
Really?
like
Oh,
Shu's
that's good.
been like really
good.
great actually.
Well, I mean, do you classify cursed emotes as nice?
Maybe that
okay,
Shu's
yeah, gracious is maybe a better word. A gracious player.
maybe that's like Shu's outlet now, right? Where it's just like he just like lets it all flow through emotes that he wins, and we have to put in the Discord. Just like now, ever since his like cursed Thomas emote has become a thing, like he's just like become like enlightened or something. You know, he's hit
I
that
am
like
become
zen.
meme.
Enlightened Shu. No. Sorry, I can't
I have
interpret
been
that in
fished
any
up
way
by
other than a
Merciful.
meme. I can only interpret that as a meme. Sorry.
Okay.
All
Just
right,
like
so you know, let's get the trading cards. We've got Biker Gang Zeronix, Enlightened Shu, Sequoia in like an army of balloons, just leading them forward.
That's canon.
Oh yeah.
It's not even.
I'd play like the like swarm deck with just balloons.
okay. Well, I think on that note, it's a good way to like wrap up the podcast. We've been going for almost 2.5 hours, so yeah, I think we're good to like end it here. So I guess we'll like keep an eye on the server mode. So far, it seems to be mostly okay. I think the main worry we had from people on the Groove of War side was that they'd feel like they were a bit like walking on
Eggshells?
Yeah, eggshells. That's the one. I was thinking broken glass, but no, that isn't it. Eggshells. Um, whereas like I think the reality is that like we have our own section. Um, so if people are feeling like, oh well, like the people in here are a bit too much like a biker gang, like I can go to the main channels and not have to worry about it. Like the competitive section will be a bit more biker gang-ish, but sorry, like it's stuck now. Even I have to do it.
No,
I like the
that's
imagery, but just to be
Yeah,
clear, like anybody's welcome in the like competitive channels and sections. That's the reason it's open to
Yeah, it's not
everybody. You
really
could
a
pop in,
biker
ask
gang.
questions. It's fine. It's just more like debates and high level discussions will happen there. So like if you want to say something like, I don't know, I think Sigurd's the best commander in the game, the casual channel conversation would go like, yeah, isn't Sigrid awesome? I really like Sigrid. And then the
Wow,
competitive,
you can go full HP. You can even eat golems.
right. And then the competitive conversation would be like, well, no, Sigurd's he has these problems and counterplay, and so like there's a difference in the kind of conversation you're gonna have, but everybody's welcome to ask questions and learn and play and join in, even if you're like there's no qualifications. It's not a biker gang. We're just joking about that.
I'm not sure if Barrett was actually joking about that, but
I'm,
okay, yeah.
but like I think people get what I mean. Like if you go into the competitive channel and you say why is Ryota banned? He doesn't seem that strong. You're gonna get hit with like a bunch of text from people being like, no, he's really broken. Like this is why, and people will be very like matter of fact about that. Whereas like on like a kind of more casual channel, like people would be like a bit less blunt, I guess would be the way I'd put it. Whereas like yeah, I think that's the thing. Like people kind of just like there's a level of like I mean you can come in and be new and people aren't gonna like be mean to you or anything, but I think there is like a level of like you do need a certain level of like thick skin to just like appreciate that people know what they're talking about, or like I guess know more about what they're talking about. So if you're like, hey, like I don't think Ryota should be banned, he doesn't seem that strong, like if someone comes in and says that, then I think or I guess like a better example would be like, hey, I think like dogs counter knights, then like
Oh
like
yeah, that
Oh,
was
please don't open that one up again. Oh man.
It's the reverse card of the game, like allows dogs to counter knight.
we're laughing, but we're seeing more barracks. It could happen. If we the argument was from a map that had a broken amount of barracks and weird income, but if we keep trending in that direction, we might see it.
I mean,
Like,
I did
I'll be,
once win a game where I had so many swords on a front that I just beat the guy's trebuchet defense by overwhelming him with swords. So
That's something.
yeah, I wish I'd recorded
Oh,
that game.
I forgot to mention Barrett's card would be like archer thingy
Oh yeah,
related
Oh
to
yeah.
archers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I commissioned a new emote. Even though I have like not as enough, I have more emotes than emote slots for my Twitch channel, but I've got my next Twitch payment coming up, so I'm putting it back into the channel, and it's gonna be like one of the emotes is like me, and I'm doing the Ancient Aliens guy,
Oh
where
yeah.
he's like aliens. It's gonna be me wearing like an archer outfit, doing like that pose.
Oh, I love that. That would be great.
So, and there's a couple other ones which I'll save as a surprise, but yeah, definitely. Maybe one day I'll have enough emote slots for all the emotes that I have, but I definitely like look at the ones people use because I think people really love SIP and I think people really love low roll. and like the other ones, like Think, nobody uses, but I don't know if that one's the best. I have some of like ones which are like bit emotes, so people can pay like if someone just donates 1,000 bits to my channel, they get the Sedge Lurk emote, and like that's a permanent unlock. Kind of shelling here at this point, but like, I figured like people would be like wanting to go for something like that, but I don't know. But yeah, people seem to like low roll, and people seem to like Nom. People kind of like. Although the problem with Nom is that it's Sigrid, and because she almost never gets played, and because she almost never grooves in an actual game, you don't really see a lot of opportunities to see people use her. But
That's a travesty.
whereas like the archery emote, I think, and like there's another one, and I think people are really gonna enjoy it. I need to actually do like the sketching for that, so I can give it to the emote artist, so she can make it. But yeah, we'll see. But anyway, on that note, we're at 2.5 hours. I think we're just gonna wrap things up, and then like I guess like generally we're doing the podcast like once a month, maybe twice a month, depending. Mostly just depends on if there's stuff to talk about, right?
Yeah, whenever we feel like it.
So yeah, we'll do one in February, maybe like early February. And we'll I guess talk about Test Your Metal because we haven't really covered that in a while. Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you again, Sakura. Thank you for joining.
You're welcome. It was fun. I wouldn't have wanted to miss the biker gang part.
Biker gang lore.
Someone should make that as a mod, actually.
Oh yeah,
Like concretely
replace knights with biker gangs,
Oh yeah, actually.
and you like the soldiers or like infantry is just like biker gangs without their bikes, and they go hey hey.
Oh, alright. Nikki, thank you for joining as well.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Biker Gang Zeronix, like thank you for joining too.
You're welcome, yo.
Alright, thanks everybody again. We're just gonna wrap things up, and I will catch you all next month, and if not before then. So have a good one.
Yeah, you too. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Wargroove.